Good afternoon and welcome to the Council for the Village of Yellow Springs regular council meeting for Monday, July 15th. The meeting is called to order. Judy, if you could do the roll call.
Indeed. Stokes.
I'm here.
DeBoer Leonard.
Here.
Brown. Here. Housh.
Yes.
Also present is Village Manager Johnny Burns, Finance Director Michelle Robinson, Planning and Zoning Administrator Meg Leatherman, and Solicitor Amy Blankenship. And we are awaiting Trish Gustafson.
Alrighty. While we continue to try to reach out to Trish, we will continue and we will head into executive session. So the chair will entertain a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussion of potential purchase of property for public purposes.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Judy, call the roll.
Yes. Stokes.
Yes.
DeBoer Leonard.
Yes.
Brown. Yes. Housh.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, you're going to hear me turning on the noise machines out there. Just text me if you need something. Try asking her again. Trish, if you can hear me, can you turn on your camera, please?
I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, do you have a camera?
I'm in my van, so do you want me to turn on my camera while I'm here?
Tell her only you see her, Judy.
No, I don't see her. I see nothing. All right, well, if we're all comfortable with a disembodied voice, then we'll move forward.
Yeah, we are.
All right, let's go.
Well, just thank you for indulging us in our little win game. Thanks for those. And you all can still share, maybe doing citizen concerns about what your wins are. All right. The chair will accept a motion for us to come out of executive session and come back to the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All right, Judy, if you want to call the roll, please.
Yes, Stokes.
Yes.
DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Housh.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty. All right, so we've got some swearings in. We've got Nancy Grigsby for Environmental Commission, and then Jacob Turner as Peace Officer. And we will go in that order. I've got a wet sport coat over there, so I'm going to walk over there and grab it. I did not have an umbrella, so it looks like it's mostly dry. So, Nancy Grigsby? Yes. This is to make me pretend to be official.
I'm underdressed.
No, look, we're gonna go over there to the center. Oh, no, you're fine. Let's walk over to the center of the room, please. Judy, now I know why you gave me that other piece of paper. I'm nothing without you. All right.
Scary.
Hi, Nancy. I think you could raise your right hand, please. If you could, and repeat after me. I solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and the state of Ohio,
that I will in all respects
and that I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of the Village of Yellow
and
Springs,
ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Environmental.
the duties of office in the Environmental Commission.
All right, great. Welcome to the family. Okay, just plug it in. All right.
Thanks, Nancy.
All righty. Jacob Turner. How are you?
Good, right?
Good. Good seeing you.
You too.
All righty. You got your sheet. Feel it?
Yeah.
All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and of the state of Ohio,
that I will in all respects
that I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs,
and ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Peace Officer.
and will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Peace Officer.
Welcome. All right. Is your family here? They want to come up and take some photos? Come on up. Take photos, get on the screen. The whole world, literally the whole world can see you. Come on up. Don't be shy.
I'll take some photos for you guys. I'll send them to Jake.
Thank you, Officer McKay. Oh, look at it.
Oh, Grandma. Grandma.
Oh,
Come on.
We're involved.
Yeah, I'll take care of Nancy's.
so we, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
All right. Well,
Thanks for coming, everyone.
yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm leaning to this side. Oh, no. Thanks for taking one for the team. There we go. All right. All right. Thank you for your participation and your forbearance in all of that. We're now down to announcements. Do we have announcements?
Johnny, do you have anything?
I do not, Brian.
Okay. So I think everyone knows, and it sounds like there's nothing to add, that we have rescheduled fireworks for August 3rd. So hope to see everyone out at Gaunt Park, and glad that we're always thinking about safety. And partly I highlight that because we do not have a council meeting on August 5th. This is our annual chance for our clerk to take a vacation, which was invoked by Lori Askland, and all council members agreed. So I always like to highlight that Lori Askland realized that our council clerk does need a break. So our next meeting will be August 19th. We've been talking about the Dayton's best places to work, and if people don't know already, the village was designated as an honoree, and I decided to track down, like, does that just mean that everybody's an honoree? But actually it means that you have to achieve a score of 83, which is based on the survey or above, and that represents for us being in the upper quartile for the Dayton region. So kind of cool. We also wanted to mention the Beloved Community is having their free lunch this Saturday, and that's going to be from 12 to 2. And wanted to thank our Public Works crew for once again coming to our rescue and doing a great job with responding to the electric outages, which, Johnny, I thought you might talk a little bit about in your manager's report, because they were kind of weird this time, like they were sporadic. Also, Home Inc. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. is going to be hosting at the Coretta Scott King Center information session. So I know, hearing from Emily, that they want to answer any questions that folks have about Home Inc. in general, current projects, anything of interest. The other thing that came up is on August 1st at 6 p.m. at the library, there's going to be a small business community forum. And Johnny and I talked about this a little bit, but it's related to resolving issues with public restrooms downtown. So everyone in the public is invited. So council members, staff, anyone that can attend, I think it'll be good to hear what the local business community is thinking about. I also forgot to mention, but Michael Slaughter kind of saved me, that video that we showed at the last meeting that was really cool is a product of our own Ben Gunther. So then I just wanted to make sure, because I don't think I gave you a proper shout out the last time. It's pretty cool. And I think my last thing is, as many of you know, it's Donna Denman's birthday today, one of our wonderful citizens. She's 90, and just want to wish her a happy birthday. And thanks, everyone, for being here.
Great, great. Well, Brian, I really do appreciate all the information that you provide for announcements. I don't know if you just scour the paper, if you just show up all over the place, but I absolutely 100% appreciate your doing that. Well, we've got a couple of things to mention, and something that was in the petitions communications was a flyer for the Fisher Homes, a Spring Meadows flyer. And so there was an open house and the opening of their model home. Brian, I know, was there. I was there, and I'm sure several others of you were there. I saw several community people there, folks, some of whom were just checking it out, some looking for, a place to live. But Looks like great products. I haven't gone through all of the homes there, but the model really seemed to have a great deal of potential. I guess Eric Clark posted on Facebook. He's got the first house, and I guess he's all ready to go. Grass is growing. So, Johnny, I'm going to ask you. This is really off the cuff. To share a couple of the high points, if you will, about that development, number of homes, numbers have been sold, et cetera, and the status.
I'm going to have to rely on Meg as well on this. Out of the ground, they have 26 above ground right now. They have 8 either in slab or in basement, and I think there is only one house out there that is not sold. They're keeping it for the model, and I think they're up to 36 or 38 that is sold already. Phase 2 is already blacktopped, and they are coming for final plat. They submitted all the information, so pretty soon they'll be opening phase 2 for houses. They was hoping to have roughly about 30 by December. They was really hoping to be able to get at least 30 done a year, and in 7 months they've done 38. They've sold 38. So they literally have 4 foremen on site running nonstop. So the lift station is up and running, so our team has got control over that. Playground is in, model home is open. Go see it and enjoy what you're looking at.
Great, thank you, Johnny. And a couple of reasons why I wanted to do that. Number one, we want to be able to celebrate wins and victories when we do have them, and also, we're telling you about the flyer about an event that happened already. So we just want to be able to share the love with the rest of you. Again, thank you for that, Johnny. All right, now we're down to the consent. I'm sorry.
I don't want to make a big thing about it, but we've had some major events in our country the last week. My hope is that we can all condemn political violence of all kinds, and that's something that we can all agree on regardless of our party or affiliation or anything. It's a tender time in our country right now, and I hope that folks are thoughtful about it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And thank you for stopping me from moving on as though I have somewhere to be. Any other announcements, any other updates from anyone on council? Anyone else in the public got anything real pressing you want us to know about? All righty. Okay. Now to the consent agenda, where we take a look at first of all, the minutes from our July 1st meeting, and then also the credit card statement for the month of June. Can I get a motion, please, for discussing the minutes from our last regular meeting from July 1st?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? And Judy, I'm going to just trust that Trish is okay unless you holler real loud.
Okay, well, you voice vote, and I'll see if I hear something
Okay, good
coming
enough.
out of the dark.
All right, we'll practice now. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from our July 1st meeting, first of all, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you, the motion's passed. Now, credit card statement for the month of June. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion, questions, concerns about the June credit card statement?
I did have one question. Johnny, what's rent ready?
That is for our Lawson Place app.
So it's an app to pay your rent? Okay.
Okay. All righty, high tech. All right, any other questions, concerns about the June credit card statement? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the credit card statement, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, Trish, we were too quick. At least 4-0 we passed. All righty, review of the agenda. This is where we have an opportunity to take a look at the agenda, see if there's anything on there that we need to move, or anything that perhaps should be added to the agenda. Anyone have anything for agenda review?
Well, Johnny's letter about preservation, are you just going to do that during manager's report?
Here, hold on, this one.
Housing preservation grant?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the then and now came off already?
No.
She said she didn't need it.
She said what?
That's what she told me.
Yeah.
Didn't need it?
That's what she told Kevin and I.
Yeah.
Who told you?
Michelle.
Okay, well, she's not getting it then, so I hope she's right. Actually, not saying it to me.
Is it on here? I can't see it.
Yeah, it's there. It's the last one. So I'd say,
Gotcha.
go ahead, and I'll text her in the meanwhile, just make sure.
Yeah, I didn't get details of why. So, but Johnny, you're my witness.
I was there.
Okay. So we're going to remove Resolution 2024-51, authorizing payment of invoices with a then and now certificate. Michelle said she didn't need it, but we really don't know why. Oh, she's texting, and
It's okay.
we'll put it back if we need to. All right. Any other adjustments to the agenda? All right. Thank you. We're moving on. Petitions and communications. Gavin, if you could read the petitions and communications, please. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the clerk will receive and file the mayor's clerk with their monthly and quarterly reports, Brian Housh with the Village Café report, Matthew Schwertman related to the response to complaints at the Springs Meadow development site, Kyle Heiss also on the same topic related to complaints at the Spring Meadows development site. Chief Burge with the response about noise concerns at the Pride celebration. Carmen Brown with suggestions on YSDC deliverables. Brian Housh with, related to the 2012 economic, well, it was the 2012 economic sustainability plan. Sheila Dunphy with suggestions for an approach on affordable housing, and then the aforementioned Spring Meadows flyer.
Great. Great. Thank you, Gavin. Appreciate that. All right. We are now to legislation, and Judy, yep, I'm glad to hear you're getting ready. If you wouldn't mind, please reading in full Resolution 2024-47.
Right, this is granting monies to Yellow Springs Development Corporation for the purpose of contributing to the funding of a part-time director position for the YSDC. Whereas Village Council passed Resolution 2020-06 on January 6, 2020 to designate the YSDC as an economic agent for the Village of Yellow Springs for development, industrial, commercial, distribution, and research businesses in the Village of Yellow Springs. And whereas the current director of the YSDC has been serving in a volunteer capacity since depletion of a one-time grant from the Yellow Springs Community Foundation at the end of 2022 and has announced her resignation effective August 2024. And whereas to effectively attract the skills and talents required for a part-time director, the YSDC board has identified the need to fund this position competitively. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council for the Village of Yellow Springs that Section 1, Council hereby grants the sum of $40,000 to the YSDC for the purpose of contributing to the funding of a paid part-time YSDC director position. Section 2, Council requires as a stipulation of the commitment of funds that YSDC prepare a plan for the village with input from village staff that addresses industrial, commercial, distribution, and research development as contemplated by Ohio Revised Code Section 1724.10B1. Said plan to then be presented to and confirmed by Village Council. Section 3, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of this body concerning and relating to the passage of this legislation were adopted in an open meeting of this body, and that all deliberations of this body and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were taken in meetings open to the public and in conformance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Thank you, Judy.
Anytime.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Amy. And while Amy's coming up, I did ask you to read that in full because the resolution itself touches on a lot of data points that explain the whats and the whys, and our solicitor will elaborate.
Sure. So we are revisiting this. We discussed it at the last meeting. We talked about the fact that YSDC is a community improvement corporation, a particular type of organization that could be formed under the Ohio Revised Code. Village Council, a couple of years ago, 2020, I believe that was, YSDC was appointed as the economic agent of the village. As part of those sections of the Revised Code, it does contemplate the council working with YSDC to form a plan, capital P plan, right, as Judy described in the resolution, what that plan would look like. And at the last meeting, it was discussed, it was the pleasure of council to hold off on this for a meeting to give YSDC opportunity to pull some of that information together. I think that gets us where we are now.
I think it does. So in the packet, we had a more detailed memo from our solicitor. We got the feedback that we asked for from YSDC. And Brian, you had a memo also. And then Carmen, I think all of us were expected to share information. I saw that some of you added it as letters to council and some emails to Judy to get all of that information or suggestions to YSDC. So we'll open the floor for discussion. The council, and Brian, I'd ask you to start off.
Sure, yeah. So, and that memo, while I was involved in it, is coming from YSDC, reflects, I think, pretty well what Gavin and Carmen and Trish shared. And Kevin, I think you and I didn't have additional questions. So.
Yeah, mine went straight to Judy.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I think they were just enhancing stuff that was already there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think one thing we realized with sort of the request was really more of a outline of a plan for how Yellow Springs Development Corporation was going to work with the village and the township to move initiatives forward around economic development. The reason why I popped in the 2012 Economic Sustainability Plan is because I think that's a great start for that deliverable that Amy Blankenship highlighted. And I did want to highlight, and we'll have this in the next packet, Corey Van Alsdale put together, I thought, this really cool timeline. She was inspired by Judy, I'm sure, and which really kind of gives an idea about like where we were at, where we've been, or where we are, where we're going. And so yeah, so I appreciate the questions the council had and the efforts that the Development Corporation went to respond. That was actually the focus of our last meeting, and it was a really productive conversation. So with that, I'm sure Lisa Abel might have some things to say, but that's what I got.
Great. And Lisa, I'll ask you up in just a minute, but Carmen, did you want to highlight, Carmen and Gavin, in that order, if you guys want to highlight any of your concerns of your additions to the document? I hear wheels turning.
No, I think that most of everything that I had questions about was satisfied, except for there was one piece about residential development that wasn't included, but that's all, because it's in the mission statement.
Okay. All right, Gavin.
Yeah. I guess one thing I guess I want to get across is that we've had this with multiple groups. When we did budgeting process last year, we ended up with very quick conversations about what some potential budgetary dollar, what things that might go toward, where dollars might go in our budget. So I just want to use this as sort of a public education opportunity to say that just because we do budgeting and we say here's an amount that's set aside, it doesn't necessarily mean that those funds are going to be spent, and that we still have to have process and communication, have plans of what's going on with those dollars. This happened, I think, to my knowledge, at least 3 times so far this year that we've had misunderstanding about this. So just to throw that out there for everybody that asks about the money from the village. And then the other thing I guess I want to take this opportunity to check in on is, so when we met as a village council and YSDC previously,
You meet with the school board also, I think, is that the meeting you're referring to? No school board, okay.
when we met, what was, roughly a year ago at this point, right? I guess part of what I'm hoping that follows up from this is that there is, so essentially at that point there was this idea of the YSDC is the economic development arm for the village, and that the YSDC was saying, hey, can you give us direction, essentially? And to my knowledge, we never did that. So I guess I'm just saying, I don't know whose job it is to set up the work session or put it on the agenda to say, hey, we need to follow up. So I'm just saying it publicly for the people that are on the council that are related to it, for YSCC members, that my hope is that we actually follow up on this conversation, because, and that there's an expectation there is communication and education done in a joint way over the course of time. So that for those of us, for example, who joined council after many of these things happened, frankly, for most of the last 2 years, most of what we heard about the YSCC was in a negative light. And so if we want to have a good relationship, we want to have a good communication, I'm just encouraging YSCC members as well as council members to follow up on these plans and to communicate regularly so that we don't end up in that position again.
Great, good, I appreciate that, thank you. We reach out to Trish. Trish, did you want to weigh in?
I find actually my thoughts were reflected in the memo from attending the meeting.
Great, and if the public didn't hear that, Trish said that her thoughts were captured in the input that we received from YSDC. All right, Lisa, you want to come up and put the icing on the cake, as it were?
Lisa Abel, interim director for YSDC, and I've changed my mind. No, I'm just
But you still want the money, right?
I got another idea. I'll tell you about it later. I'm actually here to see if you have any additional questions. My one comment about the development of a plan, and kind of to Gavin's question about how do we do this follow-up conversation. My guess is that we being probably a couple of us from YSDC, will meet with Johnny, and then potentially someone else on council, if it's not already the YSDC council reps, to start fleshing out this plan. And from the conversations that YSDC's been having, I think we already know a lot of how we want to address that, the aspects of the plan per the code. But certainly having the village's perspective on this and helping us think about things that we don't normally think about will be really great. Mm-hmm. And that same plan will, or something very similar, will also go through the township, because we are also designated by them. My hope is it'll be the same plan when it's all said and done. So that'll be kind of our goal, to put that together. So that's really all I had to kind of top it off. If you
Okay.
have any other questions?
Great. Council, any questions for Lisa? Okay. I'm not going to keep bothering Trish. She's away. All righty. Any other questions or comments before we put this resolution to a vote? Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Judy, if you could do a roll call on the vote.
Sure. DeVore Leonard.
Yes?
Brown.
Yes.
Housh.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Thank you. Stokes.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. The motion has passed. Now, Judy, if you could read by title only. I'm just reading it myself. See, yeah, title only I think will do. Resolution 2024-48.
This is authorizing and directing the village manager or designee to apply for any and all grant funds, provided that any grant funds requiring a significant match must be approved by council resolution, and adopting a grants process.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Judy, I almost want to say this is yours, but Judy or Johnny, someone to my left.
She had the good draft.
The flow chart, you mean?
Flow chart.
So, I mean, this is sort of based on the way that things either have gone or when they didn't go correctly, what we realized should have happened that didn't, and so it was an attempt to fix those things. So really, it's those of you who are engaged in the grants process looking at that flow chart and determining whether that in fact works.
Council? Comments? Everybody, it's an new and improved,
New and improved, yeah.
Flow chart. And as Judy said, it's sort of a combination of what we have been doing, what we hope to do, and perhaps just streamlining the process, with the goal of ensuring that grants that we do apply for, would lead to the acquisition of funds that will be used for the public good and that don't burden us, for example, with a matching amount that's beyond perhaps what we see as a worthwhile investment. Johnny, do you want to add anything?
No, I think standardizing it is going to make it a lot easier.
Great. Council, anything else?
Just two quick things.
Sure.
So one is, I wanted to reiterate, someone highlighted last time that maybe 500 is a little bit too low. So, but again, let's play it by ear and see if that's cumbersome. And then secondly, Judy and Ben, figuring out how we can communicate this to all the various groups that have used the village to access grants would be good. So, I'm thinking about livable, equitable, age-friendly, for example, and just making sure that, obviously the liaisons will share with our commissions, but some of these other groups that aren't directly associated with the village but work with us. So just thinking about that.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right on, because we do have those end up being a partnering relationship, and certainly if folks are going to be working with us or on our behalf, we'd certainly like them to be familiar with our processes. Alrighty. All right, any other comments or concerns? Trish, I'm looking at you.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
So you don't need to go to school? No.
Disregard.
Okay, thanks. Okay. All right. Cool. You need to just go ahead and minimize. Just turn the computer volume down for now.
It's Florence.
We love it. We love
I
it.
don't have.
All righty. Thank you, Trish, and your entire family for contributing.
No, that was Florence. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it would be nice to have that on up there. Okay. All righty. So we've had discussion, we've had motion and a second regarding Resolution 2024-48. All in favor of passing this resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion is passed. Thank you very much. Judy, if you could read by title only, Resolution number 2024-49.
This is authorizing the village manager to enter into an agreement with Fillmore Construction LLC for expansion of village-owned Lawson Place Apartments parking area.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All righty, Johnny, this sounds like...
This is me.
All righty, have at it.
This is the parking lot expansion to put in at least 14 spots at Lawson Place. Also included putting in a bike rack parking area for at least 8 to 10 bicycles and moving the mailbox.
So an additional 14 for a
An
total of...
additional 14 for a total of 30.
Okay.
We
And,
have 16 units.
okay, and for the record, that bike rack that will support 8 to 10 bikes is out of the goodness of your heart?
Yes.
It is not required based on previous legislation that suggested for conditional permit purposes, we would be required to do a bike rack, but this is just because we like bikes. All righty.
Absolutely.
Council, any conversation on this item?
Well, I guess, just to segue from that point, I do think that as much as possible with, any village properties, we want to make sure, even if we don't have to, because it's grandfathered in, that we do try to meet those new standards around bike parking and car parking for that matter. So I appreciate the expansion under the code, and I think this was updated before Lawson Place went into place. For multifamily dwellings of this nature, there's supposed to be 2 spots per unit. And so I think the fact that we're getting very close to that is conforms to what we would like to see in any village-owned buildings. And I'm glad the bike parking is being contemplated as well.
Yep. Okay. Carmen? Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Gavin? Okay. Trish?
I just want to say that wasn't me.
Duly noted. Anything on the Lawson Place parking lot? Hearing nothing? I'm going to move on. All right. If there's no other discussion, we're going to put it to a vote. All those in favor of approving this resolution, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion has passed. Thank you very much. Judy, by title only, if you could, please. Resolution number 2024-50.
This is authorizing the village manager to enter into an agreement with Neptune Equipment Company Incorporated, NECOs, for the purchase and installation of remote read water meters.
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Johnny?
This is going to be me, but I'm actually going to turn it over to Rose Pelzel.
All right.
That has done all the legwork, the hard work, the investigative work.
All right.
And she knows what the village needs.
All right, so Rose could probably say everything she needs to say without those notes she just brought up, probably.
So I'm Rose Pelzel. I'm a meter reader for the Village of Yellow Springs, and I am recommending that we go forward with NECO, or with the Neptune water meters. They're an Ohio company, and they specialize in water meters, and they also install water meters. So instead of having a separate company or do the installation and provide the meters, they all do it in-house. I've been doing a pilot program of remote water meters for a year and a half, 2 years now. And it's been difficult to find exactly what we want with the Tantalus system, but I do think that, so we have the Tantalus system, which reads our our electric meters. We've installed about 500 electric meters all throughout the village that can pick up each other, so it's like a web. I've explained this to y'all before, but that is going to be really useful when we install remote water meters, because the the water meters are underground, and it's really hard to get that signal out very far. And so when there's a Tantalus electric meter on every single house, it'll be a very short distance, and we'll get really good read reliability. Another thing that I like about the Neptune meters is that they go down to a 1/10 of a gallon. We won't, that's another discussion about how we bill. We bill in thousands of gallons right now, but once we change over to everything being remote, we'll be able to go down to maybe a more specific, like bill in tens or bill in gallons. That makes more sense to people when they're paying their bills. The best thing about the Neptune meters, well, two of the best things about the Neptune meters is it comes with its own antenna that sits above the lid of the meter, so it's more easily able to be picked up. And then also the meter itself stores, I think it's 90 days of data, of 15-minute interval data. So if there is a leak, which I accidentally said 7 days of continuous usage, it will flag a leak. If there's 50 15-minute intervals in a day, so there's 96 15-minute intervals in a day. If there's more than 50 of those intervals where there has been usage on the meter, it will flag on our system, and we will be able to go out to the residents, and we don't have to go inside, we don't have to look at the meter. There's a Bluetooth device that we can download 90 days of usage of that 15-minute interval and help our customers locate whatever has been happening. So that's my pitch for Neptune. Do you guys have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
How is the antenna protected?
The antenna is there's an aluminum cover on it. They are sometimes damaged, but they're cheaper. They're pretty cheap to replace, and easy to they're plug and play. The other thing is, even if the antenna is damaged, the meter itself can still send out the reading.
Okay.
I mean, that was my question when I heard the antenna. It sits above the pit, and I mow right over mine all the time. So.
You'll need to mow round.
Okay, all right. Duly noted.
Safety.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, and I didn't know about the relationship with the Tantalus, with the electric meters, that they could talk to each other. I missed that part of the memo, I guess.
Kevin, I guess I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we hit on that we can detect leaks sooner. Mm-hmm. Huge benefit for everyone, save our residents money, potential advantages with billing. How close are we to where customers themselves can track data?
There are multiple options, separate companies that partner with Tantalus, so they will be able to track data through when we sign a contract with some other company, but they will be able to access through Tantalus both electric and water usage.
Cool. Thank you.
And Brian, I'll just say we're probably still 2 years because we still got to install all the meters on the water and electric, and we're a year out for electric meters.
Gotcha. Cool.
All right. Any other questions for Rose? Okay. All right. Thank you, Rose. Appreciate that. All righty. So we've got a motion and a second. We've had discussion. And now we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2024-50, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion has passed. So Judy, it sounds like I am going to pick back up Resolution 2024-51.
52. Then now,
51?
51. Oh, my error.
Okay,
I'll change that.
all righty. So if you could read, Judy, by title only, and then I'll lead the discussion. Resolution 2024-51, please.
This is authorizing payment of invoices with a then and now certificate for the third quarter of 2024.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a misunderstanding.
Yeah, so that's why I'm taking responsibility. All right, so Resolution 2024-51 is authorizing payment of invoices for then and now for the third quarter. I will read the memo from Michelle Robinson, our finance director, and I'll take responsibility for whatever boo-boo happened with the agenda review. Then and now approval. There's a pending invoice from Vance Outdoors for $4,178.55 for vests for 3 police officers that requires then and now approval from council. Michelle certifies that the sufficient unencumbered money is and was available both at the time of the purchase was made and at the time payment was due. We have in our packet and in the resolution details about the dollar amount and the invoices from Vance Outdoors. So as we do with these then and nows, it's a timing error, if you will. Is there any other discussion?
I will add, Paige was going to do a memo real quick, but she did not have time on Friday, that she's actually secured a grant to cover about 75% of this. Will be in the form of reimbursement. But
Okay, great, excellent, good news. That makes it even more fun. All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favor of approving this resolution, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion has passed. Thank you again for your forbearance. All right, now we are at the point of the agenda where we will hear citizen concerns. This is where citizens can come up and share their concerns about any item that is not currently on the agenda. Typically, we'll allow 3 minutes for you to speak. Judy will be our timekeeper. And please, as others have come up and spoken, if you do want to come up, please ensure that you're providing unique comments so that we're not just hearing the same messages over and over. Not that that's a problem, but for the interest of everyone's time and interest in the discussion. So, do we have citizen concerns? All right, please come on up. Please introduce yourself and share your affiliation with the village.
Good evening, council members. My name is Molly Finch. I was born in Yellow Springs, and I worked as a barista and manager at the Emporium for years until just a couple months ago. I've served almost everyone here at some point, and I know countless faces in our town. Not just faces, but details that matter. Which community members are experiencing cognitive decline and may need to call a friend or for a ride home on a day when they're struggling? Which kids have which food sensitivities? Whose pet just had surgery? I consider myself an important weak tie, someone who has frequent casual interactions with many others in this community. It's these casual interactions with familiar faces, like a barista who knows your name in regular order, or a Tom's employee who helps your aging parent carry their groceries, that create a sense of connection, consistency, and community. A University of Essex study found that people with more weak ties tend to be happier and feel a greater sense of belonging. I ask you to think about how many downtown service industry workers you interact with each week. These are the people who contribute to the unique character of Yellow Springs and, in big and small ways, look after its residents. Yet, despite their dedication, a surprisingly high number of them can't afford to live here. For years, I've worked in Yellow Springs, but I haven't been able to afford to live in town, even with a manager's pay. This year, I left the service industry and started my own garden design business to increase my income, hoping to fulfill my dream of living in town. Between working in town and caring for my elderly father, who thankfully can continue living in Yellow Springs thanks to Section 8 housing, I commute here every single day from Springfield. My situation isn't unique. Out of the numerous coworkers I've had over the years at the Emporium, I can count on one hand the number who actually rented apartments in town, all of them with roommates. The overwhelming majority either live out of town, live with family members, or both. None could afford their own rental apartment, let alone a home. All of my coworkers who couldn't afford a place in town wished they could. Let that sink in. The average base salary at Starbucks in Ohio was over 50% higher than at the Emporium. The people at the Emporium work in town because they love this community so much that they're willing to make less money just to spend more time here. Increasing affordable housing doesn't bring in the unknown as much as it enables those already part of our community to live here. People are always surprised to learn that I don't actually live in Yellow Springs because I'm so involved in the community and am here every single day. The same is true for countless others who work here but can't afford to live here. So at every opportunity that comes before you, please support initiatives to expand affordable housing in Yellow Springs. Share this wonderful community with those who genuinely, deeply want to be part of it and are already contributing to its vibrancy. We show up, we work hard, we care about this community, and we care about you. Now, make it possible for us to live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Alyssa Paolela. I just want to ask if I should address affordable housing now or wait until a later part in the agenda.
Well, I guess it really depends on what you have to say.
I will be referencing the PUW that is on the agenda.
Oh, the PUD?
PUD, I'm sorry,
Okay.
PUD.
Well, if that's the case, we ask you to
Later on.
wait till then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, I have a similar question. I'm going to be talking about the letters in response to the Kenneth Hamilton Way letter that was sent. Should I say something now? Or
That's a now thing.
That's no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I read those when I got home from work today, so this is brief.
Your name?
I'm Betsy Fox. I live on Kenneth Hamilton Way. I was one of the people that submitted the letter along with Emily. So the letters from Fisher Homes and DDC are concerning for all villagers, not just us that wrote the letter. First, the letter was not from Emily alone. It was from many Kenneth Hamilton Way neighbors, including myself, my husband, and many others on our street. We've all witnessed and experienced things that are concerning and worth bringing to the attention of council, Fisher Homes, and DDC. So writing a response that personally attacked Emily is my highest concern in reading that letter. The council, I think, needs to respond in a way that illustrates our community has the right to voice their concerns without retaliation, both in a public forum, like writing a letter to council, or in a private manner, like rehoming a garden because of this, or inquiring about purchasing a parcel of land. Our concerns are about the safety of our homes and our families, the homes of our new neighbors that are coming in, and the people that are building those homes. Without an appropriate response, what does this mean for any community member that has concerns about these important issues that they're witnessing in their community? And then second, I'm aware that Kyle, so this was the former construction site manager that was said in one of the letters, they no longer work for Fisher Homes. My understanding is that he was responsible for ensuring on-site safety, including the workers that are there. So who are we supposed to communicate with about our concerns, and who's making them accountable? So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, come on up.
Thank you. Thank you for saying something.
Yeah, I'm Emily Seibel, also a neighbor on Kenneth Hamilton Way, and I just wanted to very briefly respond. I'm very happy to hear earlier from Johnny that there are 4 foremen on site now. That's really important. I think since my character has been put into question by Michael Lewis from DDC Management, I would like to just reiterate that from the very beginning, I think we've very consistently been, as a whole neighborhood, and also me as a private individual, very supportive of this development moving forward. We understand that it's important for the community. We are very excited to welcome new neighbors, including Betsy's mother, who is moving in just down the street and will be the designated tornado shelter for all of us. And we understand that this is really going to help the village. So I think I've been pretty clear about that. Our concerns that we brought up are specifically about safety and accountability. And it's, again, just this is not my letter. I was the one who was going to be at council anyway, so I volunteered to read it. So I just want to make that very clear. I did send some photos. I think those were passed along, kind of documenting some of our concerns. But the biggest thing that concerned me about the letters, response letters, were that there really was never, wasn't properly addressed. I don't think the lack of informing nearby residents that there was a potential safety issue and that they needed to evacuate immediately, which is like gas leak 101. When you look it up online, it says leave where you are, make sure you're telling people that they need to leave if they're within 200 feet of the gas leak, etc. That's the best practice. And so, that informing didn't happen until way later, especially for Michael Kraus, our elderly neighbor who was evacuated by the Miami Township Fire Rescue later when he arrived home. So I guess what we would like to know is just how we can be sure that we're going to be safe and who to talk to if we're concerned. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to speak to this really, really quickly. We talked after the last time you were here, and my suggestion stands. Because there's only so much that we as a body can do. There's only so much that the village can do. This isn't a village operation. I do thank you for coming up and everyone that's spoken on it, but this is a big deal. So take care of yourselves and do what you need to do.
So I know I saw Dino. April, were you about to get up also? Okay, somebody over there. So Dino, am I just imagining things?
Hello, Dino Pilato, resident. CB letter, I understand a CB letter may have come in or has come in and someone else didn't respond. One of the other landowners may have not responded yet. Gavin, I wanted to give you these. This is when I was on Community Resources, we had all a list of the entire covenants. So when questions come up of what can be on it, can't be on it, you've got it there in front of you now, just so it's readily available for all you guys. I've had that for a while, so I just want to bring that to your attention so you have it for you guys. I have a question about cash reserves. There's been a lot of commentary going on, obviously with the LIHTC stuff, but there's been a commentary about $3 million that keeps going out that's running around there. We just want to know what that's about. That we just happen to have $3 million sitting around, just sitting around. I know we're so cash flush that we have this readily available. General accounting principles demand that you protect our cash reserves at all costs and keep them fully funded. My question is, what is the amount in our cash reserves right now? This isn't a SWIFT account where we're sweeping large amounts of money back and forth to cover payroll or daily expenses. This is your separate cash, keeping our reserves fully funded. Also want to talk to you, I know the reason I'm up here for now is because I know we've changed the agenda. There was an ask from HomeLink that was potentially for a bridge loan, and I know that's off the table now, that there's some changes, but I want to put it on the record that when we're looking for bridge loans for anybody, not just any business, anybody, it's a high-risk issue. Everybody's exposed, and to come to you guys for an ask of money to expose yourself isn't a good business move. And going forward, I hope you just pay attention to something like that if this should come up going forward. Lastly, I know I come here, try to not come here as often. I don't want to come here all the time, but I want to look to the camera and say, people, we got to start getting involved. There's always, and this is not directed generally at anybody. It's not a HomeLink issue. It's an issue of when I get 15 or 20 people that come in all the time and they're pounding away, this board will listen. They will listen to it because they're influenced by the commentary. I ask the villagers to get involved. Start coming to these things and voice your opinion. It needs to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. All right, anyone else? Citizen concerns? Lots of smiling faces, always good. So we are going to close out our citizen concerns. Thank you for your participation. So we have no special reports unless something came up that I didn't know about. So it's now down to the manager's report. Johnny, you have...
It is me.
Yep.
All right, so we'll start with the letter that Brian was referencing and support for the HomeLink to apply for the 2024 Housing Preservation Grant through an agency for higher rural development. And we're sending a letter to them signifying that we are in support of HomeLink to apply for the grant. And there is no ask to it. It's just a little letter of support.
And you'll sign that?
I did.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Okay. And it went with the flow chart, so I was dead on the money. So the next thing, Brian, I'll reference the storm yesterday. It was a fast-moving storm. We've been watching it all day, and we got about a 2-hour jump head start because of another one formed up right in front of it. Crews looked and finally found a problem once they got the reclosers were kicking in and out, and finally found a problem on Xenia Avenue. It has been the cause of 3 major outages this year. So we met with the homeowner this morning, and we let him know the way that we was going to correct the problem and trim the trees. So you'll be seeing that on Xenia Avenue. It started today. We also had 4 other outages, and I can tell you that none of what happened yesterday was due to any village-owned trees. We had one on Orton that literally was 40 feet from the line and fell over into the neighbor's property, which took out all the electric on that end. So while the crews were working on Xenia Avenue, we also went and disconnected transformers. That way we could get the circuit back up and running. We did have a large tree fall on somebody's car on Xenia Avenue. Nobody was hurt. But every one of the outages yesterday was caused by homeowner trees that are not being taken care of. We did have one fall at the library. You'll be seeing some trees cut down between that and the house next to it. That started today. We cleaned it up, but we got some others that we're going to be taking care of. So the power on, power off is because the reclosers were kicking that system out because we could not see the problem because the tree canopy had covered it up. So we are in the process of fixing that local area. Tower 2 did start. You'll see some sandblasting. They have a robotic machine hanging off the side of it, and the guy sits down on the ground and runs the machine up and down for the sandblasting. Once they get the outside sandblasted, they'll move to the inside and do the same as well.
Just a quick question. Yeah, are the water fountains at the dog park going to be off for the duration? It's not related.
There's no, no, it's not related. They are working.
Okay, thought I was there one day and maybe I didn't step on it hard enough.
You know what? I will double check on that because actually it comes from that area, but
Yeah.
it should still be on.
They're not.
It may be off.
Yeah.
I will get back with you.
Okay.
And we'll let the dog park people know as well.
Yep, great.
Because they do come off that back hydrant. And it could be shut down because of the tower.
Yep.
So I will get you a firm answer.
Please do, thank you. Our dogs appreciate it.
Crews will begin on 68 probably Wednesday. Because of the weather, they're going to be delayed running the new main from 343 Cemetery going north. It'll be on the east side of the roadway, so to speak, on the flower side of the roadway, if you guys know where the flower garden is. And in the meantime, they're bringing in a second crew to start working on Center College and tapping into home services so they can close up the loose gravel and get a lot of that taken care of. So there'll be at least 2 crews from Majors coming in to finish that work. Lawson Place, I will let you know probably by social media or something about when we're going to start construction, but we'll get all that figured out and we'll let everybody know. Brian also wanted back up to the storm. Crews can't get word out fast enough because so literally we was doing the best we can get as much. We ain't got nothing to say. We really can't put anything out on social media. But take the opportunity to join Civica Plus. Ben attached it to the social media post yesterday, and we actually had 40-something other people sign up. So whenever you can get that word out there, that way they're not having to go back to social media and look for updates. If an update's coming, it's going straight to their phone. Safety Village was a hit. I know Paige would have wanted to be here, but she decided she wanted to take vacation instead of coming to council. But Safety Village was an absolute hit. There was a bunch of young kids here just learning about electric, learning about safety swimming, their bicycle safety. It was absolutely, the volunteers that were here did a phenomenal job. All the police officers, dispatchers. It was just a big event, and they had good weather for the majority of it.
Yeah.
And who supports us from Greene County?
This is not from Greene. The support come from Mills Park Hotel.
Oh, okay.
They actually funded the event.
I thought I read, though, that like some of the agencies with Greene County help with the training.
I believe it's Greene County. Yes, she said several Greene County agencies. I don't know that I've seen anybody from Greene County, but I'll get her to identify those. Unless it's the park rangers and stuff like that. The water tower, I want to go back to that. The first one, if you remember, we had trouble shutting the water tower down. So we had to do a big valve and put it in. The staff worked diligently 2 or 3 weeks prior to the shutdown that was necessary. And we are A-OK. They had a full shutdown, so we were able to work the valves, and they actually had to repair the top of one of the valves, but they dug them up, straightened them up, and they was able to get full shutdown, which, and again, saves us a bunch of money for not having to replace valves unnecessarily. Safety pool, I've seen that, and then sign up for Civica Plus. I don't think I've said that yet, have I, Ben? And then Ben is working on the fall newsletter. There's just a little page 2 scenario in there of what we're doing. Hopefully that'll be out here. I don't even want to look at him because we got so much going on. I'm not even going to put a time limit on him. So stay tuned.
Great.
And that is all I have for tonight.
All right. Any questions for the village manager?
Brian always has one.
It's not on purpose. So actually, one thing I wanted to mention, and I guess we weren't able to get it together, but I was really impressed to hear that our peace officers had special shirts for YS Pride. And I'd love for us at some point to share an image of what those look like, because Naomi, took off her vest and showed Mayor Pam and I, and it was just awesome. And I don't think everyone realizes just the links that our team go to sometimes, so I thought that was really cool. But I wanted to ask about the housing coordinator position. So can we start moving that forward?
We will start easing it forward as soon as we get through a couple more little hurdles. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start talking about it.
Great. Okay, thanks.
All righty. You sure don't want to talk more on the manager's report, huh?
No, I only had like 15 minutes.
Yeah. All right, so now we're at the point of the agenda in old business. The old business item that we have is the low-income housing tax credit update. It's got my name on it, so I will begin the conversation. I'll be looking to our solicitor to come up in a moment. And I just want to walk through the sub-bullets, if you will, under that, number one being the bond counsel findings summary. So we have received a report from our bond counsel, and again, we'll ask our solicitor to do a summary of that so that we stay on the right side of attorney-client privilege. We also want to be able to discuss the projected costs for potential land acquisitions. And I won't say anything more about that right now. And then a feasibility discussion, which is sort of a discussion of what's next and what guardrails, if you will, that we will try to stay within. So, Amy, if you're ready to come up and give us what you can in terms of the summary of the bond counsel findings, I would appreciate that.
Sure. Hi. Good evening again. So we, maybe a month ago, 2 meetings ago, sounds right, council approved a $7,500 expenditure to hire an attorney to do a review of the property owned by the schools that the village is considering purchasing in an attempt to accommodate the Light Tech development. We did do that. Brad Ruey of Dinsmore and Scholl prepared the letter for council's review about the encumbrances on that land. We knew it was encumbered, we didn't know exactly how. Now we do. It's encumbered in a couple of different ways. There's a lease-back agreement with Huntington Bank. There is, as a part of the 2024 bond issuance, an organization known as Build America Mutual, BAM. BAM holds some encumbrance on the land as well. With that, there's a trustee. U.S. Bank Trust Corporation is the trustee on that, on those bond issuances. So several layers of encumbrances on the land. Pursuing unentangling it or removing those encumbrances would require communication with both Huntington Bank, with BAM, and then potentially also with U.S. Bank. Then there's also the consideration of the fact that the land is currently under construction. There are buildings on the land that are currently under construction. That was raised in the letter as well, to keep in mind that the Ohio Facilities Commission might have some consideration here as well in terms of what they've already approved for the project. And that's really a 30,000-foot look, and I can't go much lower than 30,000 foot because I'm not a bond attorney. But that's the summary I can give you with the memo we got from Dinsmore.
Okay. So with respect to what Mr. Rui provided for us, what do you have thoughts in terms of what our next steps would be?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So in order to untangle the land, the next steps would be phone calls, reaching out to BAM, reaching out to Huntington Bank, potentially also U.S. Bank, and having these conversations about, it's a 32-acre parcel right now, I believe. We're talking about roughly 3 acres of it, and what it would look like with both of those entities to restructure the agreements with them to remove these 3 acres from the encumbrances. And once we some of those phone calls are made and some of those conversations are had, then that will, it's going to be, at this point, this was relatively easy, right? This was just a process of reaching out, hiring someone to give us this information. Now, on encumbering the land, we don't know what is behind the next steps. So phone calls to BAM, phone calls to Huntington, finding out if all parties are willing to participate in talks to figure out how to do it. And then once we learn that they are, if they are, and what their thoughts would be on how that could be done, that'll determine what the next steps would be from there.
Okay.
So,
Yes, I recognize you.
thank you.
Sure.
The BAM, could the buck stop with BAM?
Oh, sure, absolutely. There's no legal duty. Yes, that's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up. They have no legal duty or responsibility to entertain this at all. They could absolutely take that phone call and say, yeah, we hear you, we understand, but we're not going to engage in those discussions at this time. Perfectly fine. There's nothing to my understanding, and based on the advice we've gotten from bond counsel, there's nothing that requires them to engage.
Sure, okay.
But if they do say no,
Oh, if they do say no, the letter starts to, alludes to the idea that there are then, beyond the bond insurer, which is BAM, there are bond holders, potentially they could be reached out to have the conversations. At that point, we'd really want to have further conversations, because those bond holders, first of all, we don't know who they are yet, but we could get, it's not public information, it's my understanding we can get to that information through the trustee. And then those bond holders will be other large corporations, financial corporations, that would then require even more phone calls and legal fees, right, to have those conversations and see if that's a possibility. So if BAM is not willing to come to the table and have the conversation, then it becomes much more difficult to unencumber it without their assistance. I'm not even standing here tonight 100% certain that we can overcome BAM's no with reaching out to the bondholders, but I think it's a possibility.
So this question, I don't think is for you, but if you know the answer. But just, I guess, to my fellow council members or staff, if anyone, or I guess if anyone knows the answer. So if this parcel wouldn't work, like if we couldn't figure it out with BAM, are there any other things that are being considered at this time, or is this is it?
Well, we have an answer from Antioch University Midwest that says they're going to talk about it at their board meeting in October.
Late October.
Okay, so there's the barely slightly ajar at most door open around the CBE. I'm just trying to make sure I know there's been conversations in the community, so I'm just trying to make sure. Barely slightly ajar on CBE. Haven't heard back from one. I mean, and then there's no other parcels though that are in consideration. Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
And just to speak to that, I mean, I haven't seen I've seen the map that has, all this high-scoring property around the village, and it's my understanding with good confidence that all of the property owners were communicated with. There were some conservation easements and other deeper, if you will, entanglements on those various properties, and we come full circle and end up with what are the lower hurdles being CBE and school property. But there were, as I understand it, hard no's for one reason or another on all the other properties under consideration that scored that way. I see you, Judith. I'll invite public up in just a second. Any other questions on the points we've covered so far? Yep.
I just want to say that, the low-income housing tax credit scoring tool is not static. So we got long faces, but, I mean, we can keep trying. This is not something like that. We'll just go a different way. It's not a static thing.
Acknowledge.
What do you mean by that?
The tool moves. It changes. It's not... Maybe that's just me being an optimist. I don't know.
Are you suggesting that it could be other properties?
I'm not talking about right this very moment, but I just want to keep in mind that it is not fixed in stone.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah. I'll just say, like, I'm disappointed that even up to this day, I hear people who I'm surprised haven't sort of followed along with conversations that still think, oh, we could just use another piece of land somewhere else. And so I guess I just want to say, like, the scoring makes a huge difference.
Yes.
And it is possible that it will come back around. And also, it has not come in our favor previously. And so it may come again.
You guys got LIHTC stuff for...
We applied.
Okay.
But we weren't competitive. For seniors.
Okay, yeah.
What I heard is, I mean, it's at least been 15 years since the scoring is lined up. And that predates most of us.
So I'm pro optimism, and also I think I just mostly just want people to make sure people have some awareness that it's not like we could just pick any other parcel. That if that could have been done, like if this could have been talked about on Glass Farm, we would have talked about it a long time ago. I'm honestly amazed that people still don't understand this.
So Judith, I saw you raise your hand. We are going to talk about, I'd like to talk about, from a bullet perspective, we've pretty much gone through the bond council summary. I'd like to spend
Well, and also, Kevin, can I just ask, so, well, and maybe Amy as well, can we share that letter from bond council?
Sure. That letter was not issued under an attorney-client privilege.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
you're absolutely free to do that. And along those lines, I wanted to mention that as this moves forward, I see value at this point in discussing village and schools, discussing some type of agreement, some type of intergovernmental agreement between the two entities, laying out everybody's responsibilities and the steps moving forward and the intent and the purpose. And along with that, I will have to request, as well, schools council waivers of conflict on both sides, because my firm, Bricker Graydon, does represent both the village and the school district.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Okay, thank you, Amy. Judith, please come up.
Hello, my name is Judith Hempfling, the president of the Yellow Springs School Board. I shared with you guys maybe 6 weeks ago the following. A preliminary exploration was done by the school district's legal counsel involved with the COPS agreement. He has reached out to BAM and U.S. Bank, the relevant entities regarding the COPS. He has asked if there is an openness to removing the lien agreement from the 3 acres of Morgan Fields needed for this project. Both entities have expressed openness to such a change. However, there are several steps that need to take place before such a change could take place. And while openness has been expressed, there are no guarantees. However, our legal counsel has reported that first responses have been encouraging. We have received a ballpark cost of $10,000 to $20,000, and that is the money that the school district had asked if you would help defray that cost to go forward with this exploration. So we actually knew more than we knew all of this before, and so I'm not sure why you took this other step, but that was your decision. But I'm just saying, those discussions had already started.
Right. Well, at the advice of counsel, we did not want to create a situation that might be an audit red flag, which would have been the village paying for the school's attorney. We chose to go with our own attorney to get the information that we needed, and in case there was any attorney-client privilege information, we would have access to it, and not having to ask you to waive your attorney-client privilege to share with us.
I agree that we need to be having communication between the school board and village council on this. It would have made sense for that to have happened, I believe, a few weeks ago, but it didn't happen, so now we're at this place. So the suggestion that we need to, I mean, if anything's going to go forward, we have to be communicating. I know there was a request for a document from the school district that came through from this attorney, I believe, that you hired. Nobody was told that request was coming, i.e., nobody, contacted the leadership of the school district ahead of time. They just got this request for a document. So I guess my point is there's been very poor communication, in my feeling, between the two bodies, which has not been helpful in trying to move forward on this. So that's all.
Well, we do propose, as Amy alluded to, as council solicitor alluded to, having this intergovernmental agreement that would address those things, communication plans, if you will. And an opportunity to share information. Did the document that was requested, was that request complied with? And if you come on up if you want to.
I heard about it later than when the request happened. The request was, would you provide this document for us, or should we do a public records request? They were directed to do a public records request. And I think that happened because nobody had approached us ahead of time and said, this is coming, this is what's going on. So that's what happened.
Okay.
I want you to check me if I'm completely going, if I'm out of the park on this one. So having that intergovernmental waiver in place will provide us with the tool to have the communication that's needed between, legally.
Right. Yes, exactly. So when we started talking about this about a month ago, as I've said at this podium several times now, the idea of the village paying the school's legal fees wasn't rhetoric that I was comfortable with the village pursuing. We needed to hire our own attorney, get our own legal advice. We have it now. Now it would be prudent for this board, for this council, to consider an intergovernmental between the village and the schools. We could move forward from this point. I was aware that Brad Rui reached out to Bricker and asked for that document. Of course, nothing inappropriate there all the time. We have requests for public records, and people say, hey, do you want to just give this to me, or do you want me to make an actual request? Which can be as simple as saying, I'm making a public records request for this document. So, and now at this point, I think that I can start the process of drafting these documents. It'll be two different documents. The waiver is one thing, the intergovernmental agreement is an agreement between the parties. And then we can work together, schools and village, and just keep taking the steps, because like I say, we don't know what comes after the next step.
Right, and then we can find out concretely where BAM is and these other.
And what it will look like done.
Okay.
Go ahead. I want to ask a question about the 20,000. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm assuming there was no one's trying to slow down. It's just there's not a clear point of contact / So basically going forward, if you're hearing there's a delay in communication, then let us know, and vice versa, right? If there was to your knowledge, there's no one who's purposefully not communicating, right?
You got hired or you got on the phone after council approved it. I was actually off on vacation.
Yeah, we started the process the next day. We have the document a week and a half later. I suppose it would be helpful, perhaps at this point, for council to determine who the point person is to have these conversations, and for the schools to have someone in the same position, however you want to handle that, and if you want to do it through your administrators or through an elected, and then once the intergovernmental is drafted, we can start working back and forth to figure out what's best. The language will need to be hammered out, right, between the two parties. We can do that easily enough. Once we have the waiver, of course, in place, we'll just work between school attorney and myself.
And I was going to ask a question about the 20,000. And there was some conversation earlier about, did we really commit to 20,000, or was that just in the ether and then we said 7,500? And we don't know, we haven't gotten a bill from Dinsmore or from Brad, Attorney Rui. So we don't know how much of the 7,500 that we have allocated has been spent. I would submit that under the guise of us, council, doing our due diligence, that we want to move the process forward or keep it moving forward, if you will, and we don't know what that means in terms of cost. I think for sure it is some additional cost beyond the $7,500 let's just call it $7,500 spent. So without making anything formal, and I guess at some point we would have to in terms of allocating funds. I personally would like to keep the process going, so I think the very next thing is this intergovernmental agreement between the two entities and someone at that point, and we're thinking it would be a Bricker attorney.
Once the waiver is signed, yes, I think the most efficient way forward will be to have Bricker attorneys work with BAM and Huntington, because they're the ones that drafted the agreements to begin with. So once we have the waiver signed on both sides, then we can start that process.
Yeah, and of course, I would guess if, Judith, the things that you read about, if those can be shared, the question is like, yes, someone spoke to BAM and the bank, and they said something. Now, is that the springboard from which we launch our next activity? If so, maybe that information needs to be shared once the agreement is in place? Yeah. So there's been conversations about folks not wanting to waste their time. I'm also concerned about wasting time and money. So we want to take advantage of any ground that's been covered already, if it's a step in the right direction. So I'm hearing, the agreement, getting the cross waivers in place, and whether we make some commitment now, council colleagues are going to look over there for Trish, whether we make some commitment now in terms of funds, because we are spending dollars for legal fees. We haven't even gotten into possible land acquisition costs yet, but we need to talk about what our limits are with respect to that. Well, you had your hand up if you have something pertinent.
Permission to ask a clarifying question?
Sure. Come up to the mic, please.
Oh, yeah. My name is Molly Finch again. I heard Judith mention that the encumbrances were BAM and U.S. Bank, and the council solicitor mentioned BAM and Huntington. Is that an important?
They're all in there. There's
all the banks are all.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't like an
and more
we don't know about
and
yet.
unknown entities.
Unknown banks. Great, thank you.
Yeah. To be clear, all right, Amy, I'm going to try this. So BAM holds the bond. Fair, I don't know what I was about to say. Some other bank, Huntington, holds the leaseback agreement that started with the athletic fields. The bond, some portion of the bond is in the hand of a trustee, that is U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank trustee, as a trustee, is representing some number of unknown entities who have, the flag.
That we can't know yet.
So I guess I'm the trustee and the folks are behind me, I guess is what I was doing. So there are people, entities that U.S. Bank as a trustee represents, that if, and to Amy's point, if BAM says no, we have to start herding cats, finding and chasing down some unknown number of unknown entities, asking each of them for their permission. And I don't know if we know that we need consensus from them or not, or we don't know. She said she shook her head. So we don't know if BAM is that being the first gateway. Them saying no opens up a great deal of activity that we don't know where that will end. John, coming up.
So I heard council say that it would be good for there to be point people for the school board and council to be able to communicate. I believe the school board's already designated Judith to communicate, and Rebecca regarding the LIHTC issue. Which of course you guys would already know since she communicated with you about it before. does seem like we just have exactly the same information that we had when the first request came. I mean, as I think everybody heard, the words were almost like 90% word for word the same information that we had before. And I do recall at that meeting, Gavin sort of, pushing the solicitor, like, we're doing more than just getting information here. We're like finding a path to like get the lien off, right? So I don't know if you're able to just put pressure on the legal services people, like, hey, we wanted more for 7,500 then.
Well, they will do anything we ask them for the right amount of money. And I will say, regardless of what information was shared already, I found out a great deal from the report from the Dinsmore attorney. Things I did not know. I had no idea that the properties were as encumbered as they are. So even though questions were asked and answers were given, I did not know how big a blank this whole thing could be.
Oh yeah, and then I also just wanted to throw this out here. Maybe this does not make any sense, but just to put it in your head, that it might make sense to just ask the school board to give limited power of attorney to just handle the lien. I mean, they have no interest in maintaining the lien. They don't really need to. If you remove the lien, great. If you don't remove the lien, they're in the same position. So I don't see why the school board wouldn't want to just delegate authority for you guys to be able to negotiate that stuff. I'm sure that they would have to, but like, why not?
So
if that would make things easier rather than doing lots of
Can we
back
start
and forth.
with the waivers? Can we like that and then?
So do you all amongst yourself need to decide at what point you want to reel back in and reconfer? Is there a monetary point? Is there an informational point? I mean, you have next steps. If you go forth and find all the information and bring it back here, and at whatever cost, you're good. I don't know if you want to set any parameters here, but.
Well, personally.
Judy, I would like to say something real quick to address the speaker. So when we're dealing with taxpayer dollars, we have to do our due diligence. We can't expend funds based off of word of mouth. So this report actually was very comprehensive. Our solicitor did a great job in hiring this firm, and the individual did do what we asked for. So I want to clarify that just a little bit.
Thank you, Trish. So I'm focusing on the process, which we've talked about, the agreement, the waivers, et cetera, reaching out to BAM and the banks. And I personally am willing to just, in terms of that activity, to cover whatever costs that will incur. Because again, I see that as our due diligence. There'll be a stopping point where we'll realize, okay, we have done all we can do. And I don't. Yeah, I don't. What I say doesn't matter in terms of committing funds, but I'm looking at the activities.
Hey, Carmen has something to say.
Yeah,
I just right now it is basically, I don't want to say impossible to determine that cost, but it feels like we do not know because we cannot know how much it's gonna cost. So I think that maybe starting with the agreement between the village and the school board, and then those waivers on both sides, so that we can just dig a little bit deeper.
It would be helpful if council could by motion and approve, authorize Johnny to sign that conflict waiver on behalf of the village. And then the schools, of course, will have to do something similar, however their process works, to get a waiver signed. And then we can move forward from there.
I'll make a motion that our village manager can sign a waiver form.
A second. Well, we got a bunch of seconds. That was Carmen got the second.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. The motion passed. So we just authorized Johnny to sign this agreement that we keep saying needs to be the next step. I don't think it's a big deal. Again, I think the momentum needs to be maintained. Once we get all the waivers and agreements in place, we can chat amongst ourselves. Council, in terms of if we want to have, now we just authorized Johnny to sign the waiver. With respect to council representation and efforts going forward, would you all like to do something similar to what the school board has done and designate two of us to play a similar role? Trish, did you hear the question?
I did. I'm fine with that.
Do you want to be one of those people while we have you?
I think it honestly should be, my opinion would be our village manager and probably Brian, just because he's been involved in the executive sessions and the other meetings that have transpired thus far.
I'm good with that. Anyone else feel that they need to be involved besides Johnny and Brian? I don't feel like I need to. I think we've got people, at the helm, folks who've been involved, been in the trenches. I trust that you all will do.
So can there be two council people?
Yeah, they can.
I'd like to be the second.
Sure. All right. Judy, do we need to sort of do anything formal?
That means I tapped out, right?
No. Nope. If we pay you to not tap out.
Well, and I mean, to that point, I think that my understanding is that Superintendent Holden also wants to be engaged with communications, so that makes sense to have that team on both sides.
Good. Do we need to do anything else formally on that point? So the bond council findings led us to this point. Cost for land acquisitions. I would submit that it's council's understanding that in terms of land acquisition, we would go no further, if we go that far, but we would go no further than purchasing land that would be used for the building site. In other words, we don't intend to get involved with any replacement land. If there's a need for replacement land, we don't know. I don't know. I don't have a clear understanding whether there would be a requirement of replacement land. And Amy, if you could just verify this for me. If there would be a requirement for land replacement, it would probably come from BAM.
It's possible that BAM's response to the ask could be we can unencumber the land just by restructuring the documents and carving that land out, or it's possible they could ask for some other land to encumber through the bond issuance. We just don't know yet.
Okay.
So yes, to answer your question, yes.
Yep.
And also, in the interest of, as we're moving all of this forward, we don't have a meeting the first week of August. Mm-hmm. Council doesn't. And so our next meeting is not until about a month from tonight. So the path forward at this point, I would think, we get the waivers signed. If the schools are amenable to that, then that would allow us to move forward with those phone calls, start having conversations to see where this can go. And then by mid-August, we could come back in here with an intergovernmental agreement teed up and ready for council's consideration.
Does council think we need to authorize additional funds now so that the lack of funds aren't a showstopper for any of this activity?
I think it's not a bad idea to reiterate our up to 20,000, because that was the number that we were given to kind of finish this piece.
Any other comments? And I would be looking for a motion at some point to that point. Any other comments?
My only thought with that is, should we run up against a number that you vote on tonight between now and mid-August? If we are making progress, I hate to be artificially limited, right, at that point. But also, without a piece of legislation, I'm not sure that it does much anyway. It certainly would suggest buy-in and supports what we do for moving forward, but for it to have any legal relevance, we'll need to document it with legislation.
Yep, yeah, like I said, I'll be looking for a motion for whether it's a dollar figure. And I hear what you're saying about, if we were to say 20 and we hit 20 tomorrow, God forbid, do we need to put some remedies in there? Do you need your laptop so you can think better?
No, on my phone.
Okay.
Well, you can't pass you wouldn't be approving anything until August 19th.
Anyway.
You wouldn't be approving a dollar amount.
Well, so could we do something like, because our village manager is authorized to pursue when there are legal expenses outside of the retainer. So could we go with something like what, Kevin, you said, where we're supporting these activities to move forward?
And then you can spend 30 without talking to us.
29,999.
Okay.
Just to be exact.
Yeah, right. Up to, but not 30.
But not 30.
And there is money in the Affordable Housing Fund, I believe, right? Which would already be...
Oh, that's not already spoken for, you mean?
Which is already earmarked by council, right, for these purposes, too. So, yeah, there is, between now and mid-August, I think we can safely move forward and then paper things accordingly.
On the 19th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So no need for real legislation now? We just start doing the stuff?
So is this up to the 20,000 or an additional 20,000?
We had a motion, right? Did
Well,
Brian move or no?
I don't think we had a motion.
Okay.
You didn't move. I just said I was anticipating a motion.
Okay.
Because I thought we were going to do legislation, but are we okay with doing legislation on the fly?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so the legislation wouldn't come until the 19th, which will be our next meeting, and there's plenty to do in the meantime. The agreement's going to get done, it'll get signed, there'll be lots of chatter. We would need to understand everything that the school board has, and the school board would have to understand our 7-page agreement that was very revelational, if you will, in terms of talking about the entanglements that the property is under. I was going to ask a question about the 3.6 versus the 3, but I understand, I guess 3.6 is the number du jour.
So if we're just to play in this particular ball field for a second, as it were, Johnny's got the go-ahead to expend legal fees on a particular project which council has given him the go-ahead to pursue. He can go up to a certain amount without running afoul of any legal practices. So that will take us, my understanding, so that takes us up to the next step. The conversations occur, and then that's at the point where you understand now this amount will have to be spent, this will have to be purchased, these things will have to happen. And then that's when it comes back to council and there is or is not legislation to take it forward. We're okay rolling up to that point with Johnny being point on expending those legal fees. She asked the solicitor.
That is, I need to be able to put in a PO to authorize any work.
I don't know that we want to get into all of this right now. There's nothing,
Well, then we can't
council
do-
has no resolution before them tonight.
Correct.
Okay. This is, can I switch gears? Because it seems like maybe we want to anyway. Okay. I just wanted to throw out in the, related to the sort of land acquisition piece, I haven't heard anyone who's not interested in solving the soccer field issue too. So I just want to say publicly that while we just said something about we have no expectation we're getting involved in additional acquisition, if anyone had, I'm not aware of anyone trying to figure out how to make this project happen that doesn't want to try to figure out how to make the soccer fields as good as or better than they are now. So just to say, if anybody disagrees, I'd love to know it, but because that's another like sort of misinformation thing. I'd like to do away with is that everybody who's trying to figure this out is trying to figure out how to have it be equal to or better than situation.
Yep. Well, let me, since I said what I said, I will say some more. So, we are risking, Amy? Okay, thank you. We're spending money that, and it's not about getting a return on the investment. What I want to say is, when we are spending this money on legal fees, we know we are not getting that back. It's just money that we're spending for the good of the cause. With regard to potential land acquisitions, I'm speaking personally that I would not be interested in purchasing any land for which we could not be reimbursed by the $15 million grant. Having said that, I do recognize that even if we were to receive a promise of reimbursement, if we get the grant, if we don't get the grant, we might have, and I think we don't have to actually spend money. We maybe just have to commit to spending money. Option to purchase. So what I'm saying is, the legal fees are sunk costs, and we're committing to that. And I guess I just want to be able to have some control on what we end up spending for land acquisition. Emily, it looks like you want to speak to that.
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but yes, I'm Emily Seibel. I'm the executive director of Yellow Springs Home Inc., and I was just going to confirm that typically when these kind of land agreements are reached, it's a purchase option that is contingent on getting the funding. So no money out if there's no money coming in. And then I also just wanted to briefly say that, again, as always, I come up every time and say the odds are, not in our favor in terms of being able to get to an application. So I just want to manage expectations. But also, Yellow Springs Home Inc. is committed to, supporting, walking alongside. Obviously, this is not our piece to move forward, but we would be happy to re-enter the process at the appropriate time. So I just want to make sure that's clear, and we're very supportive of this, investigation, exploration.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Thanks for that clarity. I appreciate that.
Kevin, can I say?
Yes, please, yes.
All right, so first of all, I want to reiterate what Gavin clarified, and I think all of council has said that we understand the school's needs to, or desire to replace the rec soccer fields and any other sports fields that are affected. So we're all supportive of that, but we understand that's a different transaction that involves the schools and a private property owner. But without a doubt, I'm happy to see that the meetings with the soccer folks are happening. I know there was a really good meeting last Tuesday. I've talked with a couple folks and gotten a lot of good feedback and understanding. But I appreciate Kevin also saying that's a different transaction than what council's doing with regard to hopefully purchasing the property. I do want to speak to two other things, and one of these, Carmen reminded me that the scoring is not static, but what we also know is that if we can't get to an application this February, the scoring might still be good next year, right? I mean, so the property that we figure out that we untangle is not going to be wasted effort. And even if it's not LIHTC funding, there are other funding sources we can think about as well. The other thing I want to say is, I think a lot about timeline. I want to remind everybody, the last time we talked about doing this, we found out in September. So we're still ahead of the game, and back then, Home Inc. and St. Mary thought that if we could get a site identified, that we could get it together by February. So I think we're still in the zone that we can, get to this. Last thing is, I feel like there needs to be some clarity for Johnny and Amy around what we're authorizing to do. So what I've heard is that waivers, intergovernmental agreement, and reach out to at least BAM are things that we are supporting doing. Because if BAM says no, and then we have to try to contact all those bondholders, that is probably not feasible. So I wonder if we can just kind of agree that that's what we're saying yes to. And I don't think that, I mean, these legal costs are not going to get out of control. I mean, those are doable things, and we have some benchmark for what they might cost already, so.
Yes, your reiteration of the points is, I am in concert with what my thinking is. So I agree with what you just said, that we're authorizing Johnny and Amy to work on those agreements that include, the waivers of attorney privilege and the agreements, and they'll have stuff in them that we don't know yet. But I think it's important that we authorize folks to move forward with the process.
Okay. So Judy, Amy, do we need to do a motion to do that? Or do you think it's enough just that? Okay.
Okay. So does anyone feel the need to dig any deeper on feasibility or cost? I think we've done this. We're moving the process forward. Yay us. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. All right, somebody else. New business. Discussion of village funding for Cascades project. Looks like, Johnny, you're going to lead that one?
I thought this was, it's Meg, I believe.
Oh,
Meg, is it you or me? Meg's got the report. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Meg's lovely report.
Yeah, so we received a request from Home Inc. for additional funding for the project at Herman Street and Marshall Street. And I worked together with Johnny on putting together and writing a memo that's provided to council. I did forget to put who it was from, so sorry about that. Sorry. I know, it was the one little thing. But I guess just to remind the council that on the property at Herman and Marshall along Xenia, there was a PUD that was approved by council and the Planning Commission. It went through the preliminary plan and final plan for 32 units, multifamily duplexes, the first and triplexes and townhomes. So there's 4 phases that are planned and were approved for the PUD. And as part of the PUD, they're required to have a PUD agreement finalized and executed before issuance of the first building permit or starting construction. So we're kind of at that point now. The building permits have been reviewed by who we contract with NIC, and are holding for this agreement before we issue. And we also have final payment of the building permit fees, but that should be just a minor thing. So the PUD agreement, and some of the nuances are definitely better to read through all the details on the memo. I'm assuming you have, but I'll just give a quick overview. I just want to give you kind of an understanding of how we got to where we are right now. We have the PUD agreement required through the PUD. It's specified in code as to why we're doing it and what has to be included in it. Amy has been working with Home Inc.'s attorney to get pretty much everything ironed out into where it is tonight, and she can probably provide more of an overview of that. But because I'm new and came in kind of the middle of the project, I went back and did a little bit of figuring out how much money we've already provided to Home Inc. for this project, and also kind of a projection of if we continue to provide support throughout the phases, how much that total would be, just to give the council and staff an understanding of kind of what that looked like in preparing our budget. So since that all occurred and we were, I was working on this information and preparing this memo, I was communicating with Emily along the way too. She had pointed out one error I wanted to correct in the memo, and I confirmed that it was accurate, that it is an error. when I projected the total for village support for the project on the property as a total, $199,923. $60,000 of that was actually for the I would say Glen Helen, but it's not.
Glen Cottages.
Glen Cottages. I would say Glen Helen Cottages, and it's not. Glen Cottages. So the total for the Herman Marshall Street property that village has provided in support is $139,923. And then the recent request from Home Inc. is $180,000. And my understanding, and of course Emily can explain more about it. I don't even know if we need to talk about it as much in detail tonight because of talking with Emily. She has said that we don't really need to have a specific answer tonight on the funding because some of the initial feedback was that, from me, was that, we need more time to kind of think about it and how it's going to fit into the budget. And so she heard that and said, well, maybe we should just focus on the PUD agreement tonight. So that's kind of where we left it off. And so I was going to maybe just put the funding aside from the top and have Amy talk about the PUD agreement and where they were at, and then kind of see where we go from there.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Meg.
Okay, thanks, Meg. The PUD agreement's in your packet, and it's redlined. You'll see there's 2 different colors of red lines in it. That's because after I drafted the initial document, we had a meeting with Meg and myself, Johnny and Kevin met with some representatives from Home Inc. and their attorney, and we made we agreed to some changes to it. So all of the red lines that you see, village representatives have already agreed to, except for the one that we haven't yet worked out. We discussed it late last week, but we didn't come to a resolution, is in the section 4 of the agreement. It's 4B, the very last sentence of 4B, makes reference to the one village-owned electric pole on the property that will need to be relocated to accommodate the development, and I believe that's the one that will need to be moved in phase 1, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one village-owned electric pole that will need to accommodate phase 1. The developer will be responsible for all village costs associated with the relocation of the pole. That's, of course, my language. And then the request from Home Inc. was to have additional language on there that says unless village council agrees to waive further costs. You'll see... Oh, you're okay pulling that out? Disregard, that change isn't an issue anymore. You'll see other places in the things, I'm like, you'll see other places in this agreement where it says, unless village council agrees to waive further costs. That was agreed upon between the parties from that meeting about, it's mostly in reference to village fees and sewer tapping fees. But other than that, this is in, I guess then this is in final form once we remove that. So what I would recommend, the way our code reads, this document has to be signed before any building permits can be issued.
No, we still have the AT&T poles.
Well, that language is all still in there.
Okay.
As we drafted it, right?
Okay.
Emily, am I right on that? It still says that, based on my conversation, at least last week with Michael, it was that there are also 4 AT&T poles on the property. They're going to have to be moved in phases 3 and 4. And the language in here is that the developer will be responsible for the relocation of those poles and the relocation of our lines, village lines on those poles. So we can't issue building permits to them until this document is signed. It's not teed up for you tonight in resolution form, but now it's ready, totally ready for it because the parties have agreed to the terms. So what I would recommend is if council is on board, we'll just go ahead and finalize the document, execute it. Meg can start processing permits when Home Inc. applies, and then it'll come back to you for a resolution in the middle of August because we have to record this with the Greene County Recorder. So I want a resolution on it approved by council before we file it with the recorder, and then it'll be a record on the property.
So can we do that just with an acknowledgement?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, yes, I'm fine with it. As long as you understand that it's coming back for you. Is she still on? She bounced?
She is. Oh, I thought she was dropping a date.
She's still.
Okay.
So if as long as council is on board with it, to see it again in this form without red lines, in a month, you'll see that with the resolution. But in the meantime, in the interim, we'll go ahead and authorize the code. The zoning code is very vague as to whether it's not. I shouldn't say vague. It's silent as to whether or not village council needs to approve these agreements. But in my opinion, this is a document that gets recorded. I prefer to have a legislative approval on it. It makes things much easier when you get 10, 15 years down the road and you try and figure out something that's going on with the PUD. If there's been a resolution on point, it's a lot easier to follow the breadcrumbs.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. Go ahead.
I just want to just pause and ask real quick, so, because there's been a bunch of moving parts here, where things are in and are out, and so I guess from staff's perspective at least to start, I guess maybe from Home's perspective, I'll just start with staff. So this is, you're feeling like step one, PUD agreement, you've already negotiated all these pieces. The outstanding ones that have been challenges or questions, you're feeling like it's good enough to where it could be.
It's ready to be signed.
It's ready to be signed.
That was the
I
one
just want to make
sticking
sure I'm
point.
hearing that.
Yeah, there was one sticking point, and if Homing's fine with it, then I can clean this up in the morning and we can circulate it for a signature. Yeah.
And I would submit, and Johnny, you can speak to this. I mean, regarding the AT&T polls, I mean, that's been somewhat of a mystery bordering on enigma, but I think we've located a human being.
We did.
That gets paid by AT&T.
We did locate a human being. He actually showed up to the site. Chris actually come out because his child thought we was getting ready to cut down the trees. So Chris kind of witnessed that there was somebody from AT&T there. I have sent him the site drawings for all 4 phases. I showed him the poles in question, and he was going to start moving it up his chain to see what they can or will do.
Good. Yes.
Yeah, this is Emily Seibel, Executive Director of Homing. So yeah, I just wanted to, I think the sticking point in the PUD agreement has really been, well, who owns that pole? Whose responsibility is it to move the pole? Because it's not just a pole, it's like a huge pole. So we're talking about, $300,000 to $500,000 to move the pole and all the lines on the pole. So it's kind of a big deal. I think we're okay moving forward with the PUD agreement with saying that it's not the village's responsibility, but we do ask that you just kind of help us think through, because you have levers that we don't have, and I'm really appreciative of everything that you've already done on that topic. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks. Gavin, do you have something?
No, there's enough moving. I just wanted to pause and make sure I was hearing that correctly.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Yep, we're good. So as Amy, I think, alluded to, there's not a resolution, and we're just sort of nodding our head that Meg and Johnny can, no.
You will have a resolution on the 19th.
We will, yeah.
Meg
But-
moves ahead with PUD agreement,
Yep,
after
yep,
these
yep.
folks sign it.
Yes, so, yay us again. All right, we're moving forward. Great.
Can I speak on this topic?
Sure, we're, well, Judy's my boss.
Where is done? We're done.
Okay, it's taken care of. I'm sorry, I think I did, I feel like
A letter and come back if that's easier for everyone.
if you're willing to do that,
I think, were you talking about the PUD agreement or something?
I was going to reference it. It was a reference as part of a larger statement.
if you're comfortable doing the letter, I would, yes, ask you to send the letter, and when you come back, we might give you 6 minutes to talk.
Then I can make my statement.
Yeah, you might need to stop, turn around, and then start again, but we might do that. I saw some activity over here. Maybe I should get my eyes checked. Speaking of seeing people. Yeah, sure.
Just a point of clarification, are you talking about the funding request at all, just to kind of get some high-level feedback or questions, or are you, or is that moved to the?
It'll be moved to the next meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All righty, this is our second meeting of the,
I thought you bumped it to budget, but okay.
yeah, really budget. Yeah, because it's, so we're following staff's suggestion for them to begin internal conversations, and they will let us know when they're ready to talk about it. Okay. Second meeting of the month, boards and commissions. We did have swearing in earlier. Are there any board and commission items that need to be highlighted?
No, I didn't submit anything in writing because I saw the agenda and was like, put it off because there's a lot, but we need to put it off. We'll do it next time.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Boards and commissions? Trish?
Sorry.
Oh, she's still here?
I'm still here. No, I don't have anything.
Anything on board? Okay,
So I
great.
have nominations for you folks.
Oh, you have nominations?
Yes, there's no council rep to BZA, so we have 3 folks who are coming off. One does not want to come back. We've been advertising that
Thank you, everyone.
for months and months. We have 2 people who are willing to stay on. They bring a high level of expertise. They're extremely reliable. One of them is currently serving as chair. So I would like to recommend next terms for both Anthony Salmonson and Scott Osterholm for your consideration.
Absolutely.
I'll move.
I'll second. Well, Carmen beats me on the second.
Right.
So, yeah, Brian and then Carmen on the second.
Okay.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so are we good with just 2 people?
Well, that's all we've got right now. Well, we've got, it's a board of 5.
Oh, we just...
Ellis has agreed to stay on until, for a while, as we keep looking.
Okay.
But, so we've still got 5.
Okay, good. All right, great. Oy vey. All right. Future agenda items. Obviously, no meeting August 5th. Judy, thank you for that, and Lori, thank you for that again. So we've got an ordinance, well, you can see there what we've got. Are we adding anything else that we know we need to add? We certainly something, the agreement, or, something's going to come back.
You're right.
And then we just talked about the PUD. That'll come back as a resolution.
Yep, that's on.
Am I missing anything that came out?
It'll be I guess it'll be an ongoing LIHTC update for every meeting.
Okay.
Right.
Likely an intergovernmental on this agenda, on the next agenda.
Yep, the intergovernmental agreement. Judy? I, if that clock is right.
You started at 5, just bear that in mind.
Oh, just bear that. But still, 8:30, you were shooting for 8:30, right?
See? Well, and we started 10 minutes late because of tech difficulties, so.
Yeah, so let's call this 8:15.
So some of us will clean up on Friday
Gotcha.
at agenda planning.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.